What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao with the news from here in Taipei. It might be a good idea to put that face mask back on, as COVID cases are on the rise again here in Taiwan. 20 people have died after getting sick with the virus last week, and authorities are urging people to be on alert and to get updated vaccines. Joyce Sun joins us live from Taipei with the latest. Joyce, what are the numbers showing, and how is Taiwan preparing for this surge?
Hey Eric, it's been a while since we've talked about COVID here in Taiwan, but case numbers are back up. Over the past week, 328 COVID cases were recorded that have caused complications. That's a 25% increase compared to the week before. Now, this includes 2 one-year-old boys who've developed high fevers of almost 40 degrees Celsius after testing positive for COVID. Now, in terms of fatalities, as you mentioned, Eric, 20 people have died from COVID-related complications in the last week, and so health authorities are now urging people to get the most updated vaccines, since many of the older ones are now less effective with new variants.
Joyce, are we expecting the government to put in any new measures or restrictions in response to this surge?
Well, there's been no indication from the CDC that it plans to bring back restrictions at this time, and certainly not lockdowns. Currently, there are no restrictions here in Taiwan, and personal protection like wearing masks is optional. But this could change if numbers get worse. Remember, back when COVID first broke out, Taiwan had some of the strictest border controls in the world. It largely shut down foreign arrivals and required 14-day quarantines in hotels for returning nationals, and this let Taiwan's schools, economy, and just day-to-day life keep going on normally through 2021, while the rest of the world was stuck at home. And masks were a big part of this. Wearing masks was mandatory everywhere. But in terms of this latest surge, still no signs yet that requiring masks or any other restrictions are coming back.
Right, no new rules yet, but we will be keeping an eye on these numbers. Thank you, Joyce. That was Joyce Sun live in Taipei. In other health news, Taiwan is working to relieve pressure on hospitals by encouraging people to get treated in smaller local facilities or at home. This so-called 888 plan targets the more than 5 million people in Taiwan with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or high blood sugar. It aims to identify and control 80% of cases within 8 years. Now, people diagnosed with these 3 chronic conditions will be assigned personal counselors to help them manage their health. Health professionals hope that this plan will allow larger medical facilities to focus on patients who have more immediate needs.
医学中心本来应该负担疾病治疗上，特别是着重在急重难罕几类的病人。那稳定的慢性病本来就应该释放到基层或是地区医院来。
President Lai Ching-te has approved a cabinet request for a fresh review of controversial legislative reforms. The cabinet says these new rules may be unconstitutional or hard to enforce. Now, supporters of the bill say they are needed as part of a push to reform the legislature and to give it more oversight over the executive branch. But opponents worry about these new powers, like requiring people to testify in front of lawmakers. The legislature now has 15 days to vote again on the amendments. If they are passed, that would force President Lai to sign them into law. But the reforms can still be challenged in the Constitutional Court. A speedboat from China that managed to reach the coast of Taiwan has triggered a debate about possible gaps in the country's defense. The question now is what Taiwan can learn from seeing its territory breached so easily. Jaime Okan reports.
This is the moment a man from China was captured by police after crossing the Taiwan Strait in a speedboat and landing near one of Taiwan's largest ports. He's since been identified as a former Chinese Navy captain. The Coast Guard says human negligence is the reason the boat managed to make it to Taiwan shores. 10 people in the Coast Guard have already been disciplined, and the administration says more resources will be dedicated for surveillance to monitor more ships.
这个案子是风险非常高，威胁程度非常高，应该在第一时间要调派线上艇去实施拦截，结合雷达跟红外线，看到我们就可以确定。
The incident is triggering concerns over possible gaps in Taiwan's defense. The country faces daily harassment from Chinese ships, aircraft, and balloons, all part of Beijing's efforts to bring Taiwan under its control.
Taiwan's position is so unique where every day there is a new threat, whether it's in the cyber domain, from the air, from the sea. And frankly, Taiwan doesn't have the same amount of resources, funding, manpower, personnel that China does.
But the bigger concern is the location this man managed to reach, as the Danshui estuary is critical to the country's defense. Danshui is home to one of Taiwan's largest ports and houses military facilities along its riverbanks. Just a few kilometers away sits the country's largest international airport. It's an ideal landing spot for a potential invasion from China, especially as the river connects all the way to the capital city of Taipei. Taiwan's military has practiced defending this beach, but analysts say establishing more advanced radar stations and better surveillance training needs to be prioritized.
Catching incidences is going to be possible given enough time, but increasing the resources, being able to expand the number of radar stations, getting it operationalized would be an enormous cost. And I think in Taiwan's situation, we're talking about a zero-sum game for defense funding.
With little information known about the origin of the speedboat and this man's motivations to land on Taiwan shores, this could very well be a unique situation. But given how easy Taiwan's territory was breached, it's a reminder for the armed forces here to be alert at all times.
What needs to happen is to not let this one incident derail years of defense reform and possibly trying to completely change how things are. Like this, granted, it's a lot easier for one guy to slip through than an entire Navy or an entire Coast Guard or an entire Army.
While both the military and the Coast Guard continue to patrol Taiwan's waters, it's gray zone threats like this small boat that may pose the biggest problems. Now it's up to the country's armed forces to adapt to this new reality, where all ships, no matter the size, pose a threat. Andy Shui and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
Hong Kong is canceling the passports of 6 activists who are living in exile in the UK. They include former pro-democracy lawmaker Nathan Law and activist Fin Lau. Hong Kong's Security Bureau says it is using its powers under a new national security law. It says the 6 activists continue to engage in activities that endanger national security. Nathan Law says he gave up his passport when applying for asylum in the UK and that this move is redundant. Hong Kong police put the 6 on a wanted list last year. The UK and other countries where activists have fled say Hong Kong is trying to silence opposition voices. South Korea has revealed that it fired warning shots toward North Korea on Sunday after the North soldiers briefly crossed the border. The South's military says the soldiers retreated northwards after the shots were fired and warnings were broadcast. South Korea says it believes the soldiers did not intentionally cross the forested border and that they may have been lost. The incident comes amid heightened tensions between North and South Korea. Thai police believe an electrical fault is to blame for a fire that killed more than 1,000 caged animals at a market in Bangkok. The fire at Jatujak Market spread to more than 100 stalls in the pets section. The tightly packed market is a popular spot for tourists, but animal activists have raised concerns about the sale of live animals there, prompting occasional raids targeting sellers of endangered species. A major earthquake that hit eastern Taiwan in early April caused damage on land and at sea. Fishers near the quake's epicenter are facing major losses, grappling with expensive repairs to damaged equipment. They're now calling for more support from the government to help them rebuild. Wesley Lewis has the story.
Picking up the pieces, fishers in Hualien in eastern Taiwan are removing damaged equipment from their stock. A massive magnitude 7.2 earthquake that hit the region in April has left the local fishing industry in shambles. Fishers say the quake shifted the anchors they use here to tie off fixed fishing nets.
那边有绑那个石块，然后这个就是因为地震嘛，然后就滑了，它就跑边，它就变成全部拉下去了，拉下去网子就被扯破了。
There are 8 designated fisheries along Hualien's coast. The local government says the fishing sector has lost over $1 million due to earthquake damage. They now plan to give every affected fishery around $9,000 in relief funds. But fishers say the government subsidy is just a drop in the ocean.
其实的话，你如果说要分摊给8家业者的话，其实对他们来讲的话，那是属于慰问金而已啦。真的，那些钱的话没有，真的是 真的是不够了。
Local authorities in Hualien say they've asked the central government for more support.
补助的额度啦，相较于我们损失实在差异太大，所以我们花莲县政府持续的跟中央积极的争取了。农业部已经修订了就是农业灾害补助的办法，那目前还可以额外再补助大约25万元。
Hualien's fisheries don't expect to complete repairs until the end of the summer, peak fishing season for several important catches, including skipjack tuna and flying fish. As local fishers mend their nets, they are hoping their government will deliver more aid so they can get back to business as usual. Devin Tai and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Rescue workers are evacuating thousands of stranded people as heavy rains flood Chile. Torrential rains and hurricane-force winds swept across the southern Biobío region, leaving hundreds of homes damaged. Authorities reported flooded streets and homes, landslides, and fallen trees, and they've issued a red alert for the entire region. They've also issued an early warning for Chile's capital city, Santiago, as more rain and wind is expected over the next few days. At least 8 more people have died of suspected heat stroke in India as a heat wave scorches the country. The deaths occurred in the eastern state of Odisha. Health officials say 41 people are confirmed to have died of sunstroke this summer, and more cases are still being investigated. Across India, temperatures have soared as high as 50 degrees Celsius since mid-May. Officials say this is India's longest heat wave ever. Taipei is a city full of cyclists, but just how bike-friendly is Taiwan's capital? Recent accident figures suggest not very. Reporter Reese Ayers braves a bike ride to find out more.
It's a beautiful day for a bike ride. And with public bicycle stations like these all across Taiwan's north, offering 30 minutes of free usage each time, it's never been cheaper to get around the city. But just how safe is it to traverse Taipei by bicycle? Well, not very, apparently. Last year, the number of accidents involving bicycles exceeded 5,000 in Taipei and New Taipei alone, an increase on the previous year. So why the rise in incidents? Taipei's traffic police think it may be something to do with education.
我们在处理的过程中，民众往往都在发生交通事故的时候才会惊觉自己可能会有违规行驶人行道、斑马线或是穿越道路等肇事责任。
Awareness of the rules isn't the only issue, though. Some of the wider sidewalks in Taiwan are clearly marked as bicycle lanes, but sometimes they end abruptly. And it's not clear whether cyclists should continue on the path or on the road. This lack of consistency, coupled with some careless riders and pedestrians, can result in friction and accidents.
骑脚踏车的人有时候可能就没有真的遵守该骑的路，那有时候比较造成我们行人行人会有一些危险。
就是不能骑人行道啊，可是一般来说，前面塞车了，快到十字路口就会往人行道稍微走一点这样子。交通安全自己要注意，骑车的时候要随时注意前后左右有没有什么问题。
So, what can be done to improve safety standards for cyclists and pedestrians? Vision Zero, a pedestrian advocacy group, say roads here need to be improved.
是希望说慢车道可以有合理的划设，那第二个也是希望说我们的单车道的整体的比例可以再上升。
But others say cities like Taipei are limited in what can be done to improve the situation.
天光道路供电有限的情况下，我能够做人车共道的，我大概都做，不可能贸然去增加它作为人车共道，因为这样子确实会压缩行人的行走的空间。
There doesn't seem to be a catch-all solution for the issue of cyclist safety just yet. But better education and more clearly defined lanes for traffic, pedestrians and cyclists could help get Taiwan back on track for making the cities a safer place for everyone. Andy Shi and Reese Ayers in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Thanks for joining us for What's Up Taiwan. Finally, say hello to these rare Andean bear cubs at the Queen Zoo in New York City. I'm Eric Gao. Take care and we'll see you next time.